Welcome back to Igua-Zoo, everyone. Today marks an exciting milestone as we are one step closer to opening our doors to the public. And we're thrilled to announce the construction of one half of our next habitat, where we'll soon introduce the giant anteater to our zoo family. But that's not all. We're also proud to unveil the Cortez Animal Education Center, generously funded by none other than our own junior keeper, Camilla's parents. This center will serve as a hub for learning and discovery, and it's all thanks to their incredible and generous support that we were able to do this. Now, Camilla's first few weeks as a junior keeper hasn't been quite what she originally thought it would be. In fact, working as a zookeeper is a bit more demanding than she'd expected. Camilla quickly learned that it's actually not all fun. And while she loved the animal outreach aspect, such as maintaining and monitoring animals and their enclosures, it was the physical demands, odd hours, and really working in all weather conditions that she really wasn't expecting to deal with. There are no rain days in Igua-Zoo. Now, fortunately, Camilla's had some additional support from none other than Justin O'Brien of Sydney, Australia, another new employee who has joined us at Igua-Zoo. Justin's filling in as our conservation ecologist, and his passion for wildlife conservation actually inspired the creation of our state-of-the-art education center. It is his belief in the power of education to foster respect and appreciation for animals and their habitats that has helped drive our zoo forward. Together, they are both committed to preparing future generations to protect and cherish our natural world. Now let's join in on this journey of discovery and conservation here at Igua-Zoo. The story of Igua-Zoo continues to develop, and I'm really excited about that. In fact, we've now met two new employees, Camilla and Justin, who both joined Igua-Zoo in their formative years as working within zoos. This is going to be an ongoing story that we're going to continue to see develop, and we have quite a few different cast members that we need to fill in. So we've had a few suggestions already, but if you have any more that you would love to see, feel free to add them into the comments below, or just join our Discord and share them there. I'm really excited to see this story develop and continue and to create something that's a little bit more of a living world within Planet Zoo. Now, there's a lot going on right now, and you kind of saw I'm a little bit all over the place. We'd started off with some barriers, more so because we needed to have barriers to understand where we were going to put our education center. Because this education center is actually going to work in tandem with our giant anteater habitat to create something that I've never created before, and I'm really excited about it. In fact, this is going to be our first fully fleshed out education center that, I will be honest, I'm super happy with. Now, I realize I say I'm super happy with a lot of stuff, but that's just who I am. I love building new things and trying new things out, and Planet Zoo is the perfect place to do that. Now let's talk a little bit about what we've built so far and really where the direction for this education center is going to go. It's meant to be one large room that's going to be broken up into different areas that guests can visit. And part of this was actually inspired by Banff. They have this amazing mountaintop observatory that you can travel up to, and it has this really cool 3-4 floor building that you're able to explore. They have restaurants and everything like that. And I don't think I'm at the point where I can create a multi-floor building, education center, but they have this really cool floor that was dedicated to learning more about the history that is Banff. And that really inspired what this education center is going to be. And I'm really happy to have been able to experience that in person, because I don't think I would have been able to build something like this without that inspiration. And I'll be the first person to admit, oftentimes I'll build things without inspiration. But you can definitely see the benefit of having some type of source material to work with. And everything's a learning experience, and we can kind of see that here right now. This entire building is not created with our grid products, but it's all panels. This gives me more control to create buildings the way I want to, some unique designs, and we can also work within really cool looking windows. But that does mean sometimes you make mistakes and you have to circle back. Now, one of the other things that I really kind of took away from this education center in Banff was the children's area. When children come to a zoo, they're not necessarily there focused on learning. Maybe as adults, we want to learn more about what goes into creating a zoo and all of the education and conservation aspects. But as children, we need to come up with another way to entice them to learn more. So knowing that we're creating a habitat for an anteater, I decided to create this kids zone. And we're going to start off with this really cool looking little tunnel made out of the bark pieces. A huge shout out to Sloth Lynn in the community, our Discord community. She built this as part of her challenge build for our Disney-inspired theme build, and I really loved it, so I kind of used it here. But the idea of utilizing these different pieces, and also on top of that, enrichment items that we would normally find in a habitat, allows us to educate children in a fun and unique manner. Now, another type of education center is going to be like a foliage terrarium. And this is what we're creating right now. And huge shout out to a lot of these river panels. They work as an amazing backdrop, not just for here, but also for our kids zone. I do go back in and add this as a backdrop. But creating a terrarium allows us to talk more about the local wildlife. And it's not just about animals, but also plant life. Now, giant anteaters are native to 2 different types of biomes. So that means we need to have 2 different types of terrariums. Now, in actuality, I did mix a lot of the foliage between the 2 terrariums just to fill it in. And part of it is because we're dealing with a restriction that I've never played with before. Terrariums are really small. Can't have anything really large, but all of our plants are super large. So I had to be very selective of what we went with, and sadly this does mean that some of the plants clip through the walls, but I think it's a small price to pay to create this really cool looking terrarium. Now on top of that, I tried some new ways of adding in different foliage items and trees to make them all fit. Now I have gotten away from speed builds, but when coming to foliage, sometimes speed builds are a little bit better, so you're going to see the entire foliage aspect for these terrariums come together. And you can actually see, flipping the trees upside down just gets that trunk. So when dealing with terrariums, we want to have kind of like a fake trunk. It's going to give the idea that you're maybe in the middle of this wildlife area. So adding in some of the trunks upside down allows us to fit them in without having to worry about having these large trees sticking out of the top of our education center. Feel like that might break the immersion just a little bit. Now, if you've made it this far in the video, thank you. Thank you so much for your support, and I have a huge request of you. We have so many different types of Latin American, South American animals that we can add to our zoo that I want to make sure that I'm also keeping in mind what you guys want to see happen with Igua-Zoo. It is, like I mentioned earlier, a living and breathing story. So let me know what animals you would love to see join Igua-Zoo and where you want to see them go. In fact, also feel free to share some ideas of different staff names and members. And don't forget to add in a little bit of a backstory, because that's going to really help us to, again, flesh out the story of Igua-Zoo. Now, on top of that, while you're at it, maybe hit that like button. Engagement really helps me to grow the channel and make even bigger and better videos. In fact, for those who've watched, you may have seen some other video games pop up on the channel as well. Now, have no fear, Planet Zoo is going to still be my primary focus. So keep that in mind. We're going to see a little bit more, but Planet Zoo will always remain. Now, the final step to completing our terrarium is to add in some glass walls. We need to make sure that there's some way to make sure that these areas stay humid and really full of light. Now, on top of that, we've made a pretty dark area. In fact, I finally added our roofs, and weirdly enough, I went with a limestone roof, which I realize from a realism perspective is not that great, but I just love the texture and the feel of it, and it kind of mixes really well with that plaster. So after adding in some pot lights, really a lot of pot lights, it was time to start focusing more on the education aspect of this build. Now, I am terrible when it comes to creating education posters. So thankfully, the modding community is amazing. And when I say modding community, I know it sounds kind of weird, but the community actually created a lot of the posters that you're seeing in this video. I would love to one day get better at creating videos. And who knows, maybe we can learn together, but it was through their help that we really made this entire build come together. Of course, also to add to my additional realism, huge shout out to Sparrow. Her headphones workshop item is an amazing piece that adds a little bit of additional realism to your entire build. And this helped me to create this headphone zone. The idea behind it is when you come into this education center, we want you to pick up these headphones, press this button, and learn more about South America. But there's going to be some other education boards that you're going to see pop up at the very end. And these include ozone layer, climate control, things like that. Now, I realize that you probably came to this episode hoping to see another habitat build, and I apologize, but it is coming in our next episode. But this entire build took so much longer than I expected to, that by the time I was done our education center, it was pretty much the end of the week anyway. So I felt it might just be better for us to split this episode into 2. Now, don't worry, our next episode is going to be very much the giant anteater habitat, and you're going to see it add on to this education center. This center is meant to be part of that habitat, so it makes the perfect sense for us to split it into 2. Now, we are pretty much at the end of the episode, and really all you're going to see is some additional foliage work done at the very end. A lot of it is going to be focused on the exterior because without foliage, everything looks kind of a little bland. Now, that being said, I do want to say, as always, thank you very much for your support. And if you really want to show more support, maybe hit that subscribe button and leave a comment or drop a like. Of course, I just want you to know that there's no pressure to do so, but it definitely helps our channel grow. Otherwise, I just want to say thank you so much for everything. Igua-Zoo is a zoo that I'm having a lot of fun building, and I hope you guys have taken something away, maybe to build your own education centers. And just know that while it may seem daunting at first, it really isn't. Sometimes all it takes is a little bit of extra time and effort, and maybe some practice to create something truly amazing that maybe you are going to be really happy with as well. Again, thank you so much, and as always, ciao for now, everybody.